welcome back to our journey. And as we come to a new podcast episode, and it's called Third Person. I wrote a poem about this title because it's something that only I, as a person who became aware of the fact that I was living my life as a third person, and I've managed to make my way back to living my own life and not with a cover up as third person is. Third person can be very valuable when you just can't do it anymore. When you're at your bottom of the line and when you're at the end of the line, the third person, yes, is helpful. Is it a solution? No. But it puts things on hold and that makes it more livable and so that you can get healthier to make your way out.
And the poem you're about to read, is it going to give a more in-depth explanation on what third person is?
It's a complete definition of it.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. I was a teenager who needed a new me. I had to leave who I was, create another me. I couldn't be me anymore. I needed to feel safe. Created a new me that I can live with, leaving the past, leaving the present, creating a new person and a new and livable future. Third person.
Yeah. And just I think the listeners are aware, you wrote that.
Yes.
That was your poetry.
Yes, this is in my poetry book, and it introduces the term of third person. The thing with third person is that actually professionals use the term. Psychologists, psychiatrists, this exists in that world. But what I found is that it existed in my world. And the word, there's two things that are very key in the word third person. One is a third person is a person who cannot say no. No matter how wrong it is for them to do it, whether you're asking of that being asked to be done, whether it's you asking yourself to do something that is not doable, that's when the third person comes into play, right? Because you put yourself into, and the word I would use is vicarious.
Okay.
Vicarious is living your world, your life, through some other person, or in this case, a third person that you've created to live your life vicariously. And that so no, the word no, and vicarious, those are two very key points for the existence of the third person.
And that was your experience with when you were in the phase of your life living as a third person, you struggled with saying no to others, and it's interesting. Was it more like you felt like you had an out-of-body experience, or was it like you really created a whole new personality? What was that like for you, the vicarious aspect?
The vicarious aspect was creating a whole brand new me. And I sort of eliminated the pain levels and became numb. Numb would be the word I would use. I had no feelings. I just, if you don't feel anything, it can't hurt you. And so in that way, it's a coping, but it's not really coping. It's just, it's a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid. It's, sort of thinking that, you can put a Band-Aid on a pumping, bleeding artery that bursts open.
Doesn't sound like it.
And then, the Band-Aid ain't going to do it.
For sure.
Or the same other thing would be if a dam bursts and the water comes pounding in and you put your finger on it to block it, ain't going to do that either. You can't stop a pumping, bleeding water explosion from a dam breaking with a fingertip. It's not going to happen.
So even though it's something that you've experienced and it's something that you went through, and you said that in some ways it helped you, would you say it's a coping mechanism that you would recommend then, right, if you need it, or is it something that you would tell others to maybe find different ways?
The danger of third person is, which was my problem at first, is that you're not aware you're doing it.
Okay.
If you are, and it's a conscious choice, it's never good to numb yourself. It's never good to live your life as a different person than who you are. Is it good when used properly, like anything in life? It can be. Because sometimes it's just too much. Whatever it is that you can't handle, that the pain is just so deep you can't face it, is it better to go to a third person than to just disappear in the pain? Yeah, I would say it's not. It is a good thing as long as you're aware that you're doing it. Problem is that's very hard to achieve.
So if you're not aware, what are sort of signs or that someone could maybe, because you said a lot of people go through it and they don't even know that they're doing it. So maybe someone's listening to it and they are going through it. What are some signs that maybe they should look out for that they might be living through a third person?
Well, the key word would be numbness.
Okay.
The key word would be numbness.
So if they're numbing,
if you're not feeling anything, you've gone into the third person mode. You're there. If you don't feel anything, if you're not, in my case, I was unable to cry. In fact, with all that I dealt with and that I came through and had left my third person behind, there's certain things that have never gone away, and one of them is that I still can't cry. I don't have the ability to express emotion through tears. So, and what's interesting with this, another sign, if you want to say, is inappropriate reactions. For example, if someone would have my father had a heart attack in front of me, I couldn't stop laughing. I laugh. The bigger the tragedy, the more my laughter. Now, it's not because I'm laughing at what's happening. It's because that's my reaction. And it's incorrect. It's not. Is it good? In answer to your question, no. Is it something I can stop? Now I'm more able to control it. My girlfriend's cat, who, I couldn't stand this cat. I'm not a cat lover to begin with. But this particular cat was really a nasty, mean cat. It would like jump at you or hiss at you and so on. And when that cat had an epileptic seizure in front of me, I couldn't stop laughing. I ran out of her house so fast because she was going to kill me. Because here your cat is having an epileptic seizure, and you're trying to stop you're trying to make sure the cat doesn't bite its tongue off, and I'm hysterical. I can't stop laughing. Now, she knew my reason for it, but she was not happy. So again, I mean, inappropriate behavior would be a sign of someone who's not living their emotions in a normal way or accurate way. Okay. I don't like the word normal. Let's say accurate, because normal is such
that what is normal?
Exactly. Yeah. How do you identify something that's normal? What you do know is that particular reaction is not.
Yeah.
I was at a party one time when a girl went down into an epileptic seizure, and it's very interesting. It doesn't stop me from doing what has to be done to fix the situation. In other words, if someone's having a heart attack, I will call an ambulance, even if I'm laughing hysterically. I will make sure that help is coming. In the case of epileptic seizures, which I've been present to, yes, I know that I have to put something in the mouth so that the tongue doesn't get bitten off. Am I laughing while I'm doing it? Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there's that mixture of not doing what you got to do to fix or be helpful,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then the last one that is something to comment on is the inability to say no. Because saying no means you're asserting what you are or are not ready to do.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in this world of non-feeling and all of the above, you're not able to recognize that saying no is just sometimes the right answer. It's not because you're bad or mean or doing something wrong or just not being a good person,
Mm-hmm.
which is how you see yourself as in if I'm going to say no, what are they going to think of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, when you start the healing process, and I'll use that word, healing process, you recognize that saying no is sometimes just what it is. You should be saying no, and you are.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe I answered your
Yeah,
question.
very well. Yeah.
Okay.
And you started to touch on the healing process. So it sounds like you don't have to live within the third person for the entirety of your life.
No.
So how did you, or how, I can assume that obviously healing process is different for everyone, but maybe you have some advice from your own experiences about how you started that healing process and how someone can help themselves to get out of that third person.
It goes back to the words I've used many times in all the podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Step by step. There's no, on your mark, get set, go.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you get to the finish line. It doesn't go that way. The way it goes is that, you establish an awareness, and then you take a step to address that awareness. And it goes, then another step, another awareness, and like that.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot at all skip it, find a shortcut, or last but not least, a quick fix.
Mm-hmm.
None of those things work. It seems like they're working in the moment, but when you live the moment for a while and then you see that, oh, this is not working, and you know that the quick fix is wrong and it's not the road to go at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other step that I accomplished. And what we touched on actually in the earlier part of this podcast is that the help you seek is very important to recognize. Are you looking for a crutch?
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking for a wheelchair? Are you looking for someone to do it for you?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer to all of those is wrong choice.
Wrong choice.
So I think those are the various factors that led me to the point where I was able to let go of the third person, And in fact, when you look at the book, the artist, the person who did the artwork.
Just so that we're talking about your poetry book now.
My poetry book, yes. In the third, as the picture that she created for third person was so creative. That would be the word, I guess.
Do you maybe want to describe the picture to those who are listening?
I'm going to,
Amazing.
absolutely. I told her, which was a fact, that I was a very, very good swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
It was a strong sport for me. I was good at it. I wasn't good for racing because the way I swam was more the way I do most things in a sort of a slower, more relaxed manner. And so for me to swim fast was not possible.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a beautiful style. My style was strong. So what she did is she created a picture of a smaller person in a bathing suit, a whole suit, and I was like taking speed over the third person I created, and the third person was oh no, oops, sorry.
You take it back. Restart.
Yeah.
Rewind and go again.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Are you rewinding that?
No. You
Yeah,
just
I'm
continue.
sorry. I just realized that I'm doing it reverse. Ooh, oops. So let's go here now. The third person is the one that I created, which is smaller, slimmer, and faster.
Mm-hmm.
The third person is not that. I mean, is that?
Is that?
Whoa, I'm having a hard time here. Excuse me, I have to go into my third person mode to do this. Oh. Unfortunately, I can't do that anymore. It's not.
Or fortunately.
Yeah, fortunately, yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Quite obviously, which I've learned to recognize, is when I have trouble like this, it's because it's a subject that's very sensitive for me.
Mm-hmm.
And the minute I have to get into something sensitive to explain, I do this. I switch things and I don't tell it the way it is. So I'm going to start this from the beginning. Sorry, everybody listening to podcasts, the podcast that we're doing, the podcast session. Sorry for the presentation being confused, but I was confused in those times too. You know, like
you're human, and I don't think there's anything to apologize. I think they'll appreciate your vulnerability and like know that you still make mistakes. You're still a human, and you're still going through things.
And I think as I talk on this particular subject, it might be close to home. Mm-hmm. I'm not quite sure what the reasoning is, but I definitely am discovering something new in doing this podcast, which is that this is a subject that is very close to home.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to clearly start in a very more clear manner to explain third person.
The picture, the image.
The picture that represents it.
Okay.
Right.
So go ahead whenever you're
ready. The large person who doesn't have the posture, that doesn't have the vision of what it's like to swim quickly and strongly, other than your style.
Mm-hmm.
So what the picture represents is a big, chunkier me that would not be competitive to the same level,
mm-hmm.
and a smaller me that is perfectly formed. The positioning is 100%, and that's the third person who's running this race.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess now I hope I made a correction of the errors that I was getting to. But you made a good point. One is human, and this is a place I lived my life in for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
That talking about it, I guess, without my realizing it, is a sensitive point.
Yeah.
So now I know what to do about it. I realize that I'm making a bad choice by, swimming a race and not me being the person doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I made better choices, and I, by the next race, I was standing up better. My posture was better. And so at each session, I improved something in some way, and then I came out of it at the other end.
Oh.
So that's third person.
And I'm curious if you feel comfortable answering this. If you had to redraw the photo today, what would that look like? Having gone through the process of the third person and saying that you've more or less come out of it, what would that image look like today?
What picture would I have?
What picture?
You ask a lot of very difficult questions, right? We might have to send you into the corner.
Promise last difficult question of the day.
Yeah, you may have to be punished for your questions. I think for the third person, what I would like to see is a a picture of another person who is better for size, therefore better to be able to perform, but at the same time still competing, not necessarily winning or championing. So I would create another person who was better and more healed than I was when I started using the third person. But I did not carry most of my behaviors out of third person and into another person that is the same. So it would be, I would have to have another person in this process, in the chain, another person that is more real, more natural.
Would you have the shadow of the third person, you think, in the new image as well, or would it just be you? Is that
shadow?
So you think it's still a bit there always?
Always. You know, I think that, you know, it's, you know, and I guess what happened this morning is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Is that you think that you're never going to go back there, but yet when you're addressing something that's difficult to address, it is still where you may still go. The difference is what? The awareness that I'm doing it.
Okay.
What's different is the choices that I'm making that end up in a better place and therefore end up in change.
Amazing. Well, I think that's a great spot to end off. But like every week, I'm just going to give you the floor for a second if there's anything else you feel like you want to add. Or if you're happy with it, we can end it, but it's up to you.
Then I'm asking you?
No, I'm asking you before we close off, like we do every week. Is there anything else you want to add?
Oh, I want to add?
Yes.
Oh, I heard the word ask. And I'm like, ask? What?
No, I'm asker. You're
what
the
do I want
speaker.
to add? I guess what I want to add is that the reason that one goes into an emotional hiding place, shall we say, and create a third person to not feel what you're not wanting to feel or not able to, let's use the word able to feel. I think that when you're a person who went to that level of changing your whole persona, your whole life, what you are doing, how you're doing it, you can't not accept or recognize that there are certain zones in life that are very difficult to get out of. And so going to create a whole new person feels good for the moment. It's not good in the big picture. So I guess that would be a very important point to talk about. And try and get to whatever that person that you're talking to who's seeking your help because you have succeeded and it looks good. I think if I was talking to somebody and trying to help them deal with this third person persona, naturally I would start with trying to get them to recognize that they've gone to that, that they don't feel anything, that their emotions are not good, that their lack of hope, lack of happiness, lack of good things in life. Don't go there, you know. If it's not for you, it's not for you, and I certainly would understand that. But in fact, sometimes you just get so low and so vulnerable and so much pain. You know, there was an expression that I heard many years ago. A person went to a doctor and they said, doctor, you know, I come to a point where I'd rather just not feel anything than feel what I'm feeling. And a good doctor would not let you leave from that, you know, and would stand by whatever they had to do to get to you. So I think having a third person persona is a good idea, but it has to be a person who has exhibited good ideas and the ability to cross over the line.
Okay.
You know, and that's the very big point. Because at the end of the day, the question also can and should become: so you reached your goal. Are you happy?
Are you happy? Yeah. I think, that's really important, and I think that's a really, really great way just to close off. And thank you once again, as per every week, for sharing, Auntie. I know I appreciate it. I can only assume how much your listeners do as well. So I guess we'll just have to come back next week to hear about whatever topic comes next.
Well, I can introduce the topic, which is called Visible Invisible.
Visible. Okay, so I guess we'll just have to come back next week to learn all about that then.
Absolutely. I welcome everyone to continue to join us on our journey.